democratic values, including respect for human rights, a commitment to protecting freedom of expression and freedom of religion or belief, and a strong belief in the importance of a free and open press. The Prime Minister and I just had a very productive discussion about the partnership between the United States and Samoa. I reiterated the United States' support for a strong and united Pacific Islands Forum and expressed our gratitude for the PIF's generous invitation to Vice President Harris to virtually address the forum last month. Indeed, the President of the United States is looking forward to welcoming Pacific Island leaders to the White House in September around the UN General Assembly. We hope to announce a date very soon. We talked about our continuing work together to address the COVID-19 pandemic and to combat the climate crisis, which poses a profound threat to people everywhere, and especially in the Pacific Islands. We discussed the partnership between Samoa and the U.S. Coast Guard to conduct security patrols of Samoa's EEZ as part of our collective effort to combat illegal, unregulated, and unreported fishing, which damages the ocean environment and undermines Samoa's economy. We discussed how the new Partners in the Blue Pacific initiative, which was recently launched by the United States, Australia, Japan, New Zealand, and the United Kingdom, will help us better coordinate our work with Pacific Island partners on the challenges we all face, from climate change to economic development to maintaining a free and open Indo-Pacific. We talked about the importance of education, and we are so glad for the success of the first in-person Young Pacific Leaders Conference in 2 years, which took place in July and included Samoan representatives. The Young Pacific Leaders Program builds connections between the next generation of leaders in the United States, the Pacific Islands, New Zealand, and Australia. Because we all know the best way to solve the challenges we face and build a better future for the region and the world is by working together and educating our young people. I told the Prime Minister that the United States looks forward to soon returning Peace Corps volunteers to Samoa. The office has been open, but because of the pandemic, we have not had the volunteers. Over the last 55 years, more than 2,000 Peace Corps volunteers have served in Samoa, an incredible symbol of the partnership and friendship between our people. Above all, I am here in Samoa and in the region to listen to and learn from our Pacific sisters and brothers. We are one Pacific family, bound together by our history, our values, our culture, and our shared priorities. And there is no limit to what we can achieve when we come together as partners. Thank you again, Madam Prime Minister, for welcoming me and my delegation so warmly. I look forward to our continued friendship. Thank you.
Yeah, Jonathan, good morning to our press tour. I'd like to formally at this conference again welcome Her Excellency Deputy Secretary Wendy Sherman, the most senior representative of the US administration to visit us, and especially since our administration and the current government has taken office. We're very pleased to receive your visit, Deputy Secretary. I think it is always an advantage for parties to meet face to face, and the COVID context has prevented us from doing this. I won't canvass the scope of issues raised, and I think the Deputy Secretary has covered that very well. But I think because we are moving from into post-COVID, I cannot let the opportunity go without publicly expressing our appreciation and thankfulness to the government of the United States for their assistance through COVID and directly bilaterally to our COVID response. And I've informed the Deputy Secretary that our rates now for vaccinations are in the 90s, 93%, and that has been able to offer us coverage and security, herd immunity, and leading government to make the decision to open our borders on the 1st of August. And it's very good that we are able to welcome you very early on and in the opening of our borders, and we hope to also have other opportunities to host representatives of your government. And I understand that the Ambassador in Wellington will be visiting us next year. The other key point I had indicated appreciation to Deputy Secretary is the shift in policy of the United States with respect to climate change and the return of the US to the climate discourse, the Paris Agreement. The US is a significant partner, and we are very pleased to see their return to the climate discourse. We've also indicated our appreciation of Ambassador Kerry's leadership with the oceans work. And more recently, the Pacific hosted the Oceans Conference in Faleolo. And we look forward to furthering that work, and especially the nexus between climate change and oceans, which are issues very pertinent to our blue Pacific continent. With the loss of our patrol boat, we've been very appreciative of the regional collaboration and with our development partners, including the US through the Coast Guard and other naval vessels on the security and surveillance within the region and the protections of our economic zones. The Peace Corps, COVID has not permitted volunteers coming in, but the presence of Peace Corps remains in Samoa with their office and the leadership in the administration, and we do look forward to a return of normality. The Peace Corps has been the constant US flagship. The program has contributed significantly to many sectors, but especially the education sector here in Samoa, and we look forward to continuing that work with the Peace Corps. We're very pleased, and the Deputy Secretary has very kindly indicated that she's here to learn and to listen. But it is also an opportunity for us here in Samoa, and for myself as the leader, to have first-hand discourse with this level of representation from the United States government. When I was in Fiji last month, the Vice President announced not only decisions with regards to the tuna treaty to the amount of $60 million per year for the next treaty period, but also then the Vice President laid out the general frameworks of how the US would like to work with us in the Pacific, and we're very happy to begin to explore the opportunities that we have there, and mutual benefits, I hope, for all of us. So I think, Deputy Secretary, let me just say that we're very mindful that you have quite a program ahead of you. Very envious of the fact that these large countries have airplanes and they can cover 3 or 4 countries in a day. and we wish you safe travels. And we do look forward. We're very happy to take note of the indication that your president would like to meet with the Pacific leaders later in the year, and we look forward to that opportunity. So safe travels.
Thank you so much.
We do. We only have time for one question.
My favorite.
Sorry, but
That's tough.
scheduling is scheduled.
Talofa Deputy Secretary. Samoa's been trying to export meat and other products to American Samoa, but due to biosecurity issues from the federal government, this has been quite restricted. Is there any possibility of relaxing those rules around exports to American Samoa, given they are also part of Samoa?
Sure. Samoa is our closest neighbor because of American Samoa, and I know that there is a strong and close relationship between you, and that many people go back and forth, in fact, to live and to work. And I can appreciate that trade rules sometimes create barriers that don't make common sense in terms of what is needed. I don't have a particular answer for you today, but I will certainly take the concern back and see if there's anything that can happen. One of the things that the Prime Minister raised, which I thought was quite right, is that particularly in smaller countries, our bureaucracy can sometimes seem overwhelming, that the processes are so complicated and things take so long, and smaller countries may not have the depth and breadth of people simply to manage all the paperwork that is necessary. So we will take a look at all of this and see what is possible, but we certainly want to make sure that the strong relationship between America and Samoa remains strong and vibrant as it currently is.
Thank you, Your Excellency. On the economy.
On the same question. Well, it did come up in the two Samoa talks. And of course, as you indicated, it has more to do with US requirements. Essentially, it's an issue for American Samoa to try and resolve, whether they might have some sort of dispensation if it's just between the two Samoas. But the requirements are for the whole of the United States. So I think the Deputy Secretary indicated, and there are particular levels that I don't need to explain to you, the standards and the measures that are required of production and so forth. But it was discussed between the two Samoas, and they will again take the lead on talking to the appropriate authorities on how the issues might be resolved. And it may not only just be meat. It might be other things that if we from here are exporting to American Samoa, but that there are federal requirements, then it's a whole range of discussions that need to take place. And even, business licensing, banking requirements, and while we're here, Deputy Secretary of American Samoa, I don't know if you've been made aware, but the ANZ Bank is, in fact, they closed at the end of July. So American Samoa, in terms of the financing services that are available to them, are now further constrained with the closure of the ANZ banks. But that is a broader issue too in the region. We can talk about it, but if money institutions aren't there to facilitate the workings of business, then it does create other issues.
Without a doubt, for people to invest, there have to be services and infrastructure, and if it doesn't exist, it's not going to happen. So I very much appreciate that, and it's one of the many things that we will have to work on together, and I appreciate some of this is our federal rules that we need to see if there's any way to sort it through. I don't know the answer.
Thank you, members of the media.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. So we can point that from here. Say the truth.
Thank you very much.
Hello.
Done. If you want to take a picture of us checking in.
Yes, please.
Thank you all.
Got that smile, oh, it lightens up the street for a mile. 'Cause being down doesn't suit your style. Hold your head up, 'cause love will keep hope going strong. And then smile, it's a given when everything seems lost. Don't try.
Sioni, leo omal kare le milia le okol maniu ya ariki.
Mamma, kiro ere como minka, o free kore mea.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Io e mamma. Papa ngo pia ari ki me uma. Senga lo kangwa o mire balu o. Pai upa como si. Au ngo am si ko.
Fa fere do nga mesa.
Ore makakaro ngo am si o le ke si ole ari.
Talofa aliki sana mai.
Kokore chiki kele.
Vili Mailoa é o nome sessão Aliki Wholesale.
Kids find any opportunity to smile, and when they smile, so do we. At Colgate, we want every child in Samoa smiling. To all mums out there, encourage good brushing habits early on. It only takes you 2 minutes to teach your child how to brush twice a day for strong, healthy teeth. Come on, mums, it's you first. Start a healthy habit with Colgate today.